There's a theater that never closes. Its stage is everywhere. The office where you work, the family dinner table, the coffee shop where strangers sit inches apart yet worlds away, the bedroom where lovers whisper secrets they may not even mean. Every environment you enter is a game board, carefully arranged, invisibly ruled. And the most unsettling truth is this: most people never realize they are pieces being moved by hands they cannot see. You walk into a room and feel something shift. The air changes. Eyes flicker toward you and then away. Too quickly, as if caught. Someone smiles, but the smile doesn't reach their eyes. Another person speaks, their words friendly, but underneath there's a current, a hidden intention that pulls at you like an undertow. You sense it, but you cannot name it. This is the game, and you have just become a player, whether you chose to be or not. Before we continue, a warning. The knowledge that's about to be shared cannot be unlearned. It will permanently change the way you see human relationships. If you're ready to abandon comfortable illusions and see what's behind the stage, subscribe now, because this isn't just a video. It's the beginning of your journey under the mask. Now let us begin. Picture a woman named Elena. She is 32 years old, works in marketing, and has learned something most people spend their entire lives avoiding: that every environment is a system of power, and power is never equally distributed. Elena learned this not in a classroom or from a book, but from watching her mother navigate a marriage that looked perfect from the outside but was, in truth, a battlefield where every word was a weapon and every silence a strategy. Elena's mother never raised her voice. She never had to. She understood that the person who controls the emotional temperature of a room controls everything. When Elena's father would come home angry, her mother would become softer, quieter, almost invisible. She would ask gentle questions, offer tea, touch his shoulder with a tenderness that seemed genuine. And slowly, imperceptibly, his anger would dissolve. He would sit down. He would talk. And by the end of the evening, he would believe that whatever decision was made had been his idea entirely. Elena watched this for years before she understood what she was seeing. Her mother was not weak. Her mother was a master. And the mask she wore, the mask of the gentle, supportive wife, was the most powerful tool she possessed. Now Elena sits in a conference room with 7 other people. The meeting is about a campaign that could define the next quarter for the company. Everyone has ideas. Everyone wants to be heard. But Elena knows something they do not. She knows that the person who speaks first is rarely the person who wins. She knows that the person who speaks loudest is often the person most afraid. And she knows that the real power in this room belongs not to the person at the head of the table, but to the person who controls what everyone else feels. Her colleague Marcus speaks first. He is confident, assertive, his voice filling the room. He presents his idea with charts and data, his hands moving through the air as if conducting an orchestra. Everyone nods. It sounds good. It sounds solid. But Elena sees what others do not. She sees the slight tension in his jaw, the way his eyes dart to their boss for approval after every major point. Marcus is not confident. Marcus is desperate. And desperation, Elena knows, is a weakness that can be exploited. She waits. She lets others speak. She nods thoughtfully, asks questions that sound curious, but are designed to expose the flaws in their logic. She never attacks directly. She never contradicts. She simply plants seeds of doubt, tiny questions that grow in the minds of her colleagues until they begin to question themselves. And then, when the room has fallen into uncertain silence, when everyone is looking at each other, wondering why the ideas that seemed so strong now feel so fragile, Elena speaks. Her voice is calm, almost hesitant. She frames her idea not as a solution, but as a possibility. She gives credit to others, weaving their suggestions into her proposal, so that everyone feels included, valued, seen. And when the decision is made, when her campaign is chosen, no one feels defeated. They feel collaborative. They feel like they were part of something together. But Elena knows the truth. She orchestrated every moment. She read the room like a text, understood the hidden dynamics, the unspoken hierarchies, the emotional needs of each person present. And she gave them what they needed while taking what she wanted. This is not cruelty. This is not evil. This is simply understanding that every environment is a game board, and those who refuse to see the game are doomed to be played. Consider now a different scene. A family gathering. Thanksgiving dinner. 12 people around a table laden with food that took days to prepare. The smell of roasted turkey and cinnamon hangs in the air. Laughter echoes. Children run between rooms. From the outside, it looks like love. It looks like belonging. But beneath the surface, beneath the smiles and the clinking glasses, there are currents of resentment, old wounds that never healed, power struggles that have been playing out for decades. At the head of the table sits the patriarch, a man named Robert, 74 years old, retired. His hands still strong despite the tremor that has begun to affect his left side. He carved the turkey with ceremony, his voice booming as he made a toast about family and gratitude. Everyone raised their glasses. Everyone smiled. But his daughter Sarah, sitting 3 seats down, felt her stomach tighten. She knows what is coming. She has seen this play before. Robert is a man who built his identity on being needed. For 50 years, he was the provider, the decision maker, the one everyone turned to when problems arose. But now he is retired. His children are grown. His advice is no longer sought the way it once was. And this terrifies him in a way he will never admit, not even to himself. So he has developed a strategy, a way to remain central, to ensure that he is still the axis around which the family revolves. He creates problems, not obviously, not in ways that can be traced back to him, but he plants seeds of conflict, mentions to one child that another child said something critical, asks questions designed to expose insecurities, offers help that comes with invisible strings attached. And then, when the conflict erupts, when siblings are arguing or a marriage is strained, he steps in as the mediator, the wise father, the one who can fix what is broken. Sarah sees this. She has seen it her entire life. She watched her father drive a wedge between her and her brother over an inheritance that had not even been discussed yet. She watched him offer financial help to her sister, knowing that it would create a sense of obligation, a debt that could never truly be repaid. And she has watched her family dance to his tune, year after year, never quite realizing that the chaos they experience is not random, but orchestrated. Tonight, he turns to Sarah's husband and asks, with a tone of casual concern, whether the business is doing well. It sounds like a grandfather's innocent question, but Sarah knows better. Her husband's business has been struggling. It is a source of stress, of sleepless nights and tense conversations. And by asking about it here, in front of the entire family, Robert is doing 2 things. He is exposing a vulnerability, making Sarah's husband feel small, inadequate. And he is positioning himself as the potential savior, the one with resources and connections, the one who could help if only he were asked. Sarah's husband shifts in his seat. His smile becomes tight. He answers vaguely, trying to deflect, but the damage is done. The other family members have heard. They exchange glances. Later, there will be whispered conversations, speculation, judgment. And if Sarah's husband eventually asks Robert for help, as Robert knows he will, the power dynamic will shift. Robert will once again be essential. He will once again matter. This is the game board of family. And Robert is a player who has been perfecting his moves for 7 decades. But here is what makes this truly fascinating. Robert does not see himself as manipulative. If you asked him, if you somehow could peel back the layers of his consciousness and examine his true beliefs, he would tell you that he loves his family, that everything he does is for their benefit, that he is simply trying to help. And he would believe it. This is the mask he wears not just for others, but for himself. Because the most effective masks are the ones we never take off, the ones we forget we are wearing. Now shift your attention to a different kind of environment. A high school cafeteria. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead, casting everything in a harsh, unflattering glow. The smell of industrial pizza and disinfectant mingles in the air. Hundreds of teenagers move through the space, their voices creating a wall of sound that is both chaotic and strangely rhythmic. And within this chaos, there are invisible lines, territories as clearly marked as any national border, though no map exists to show them. There is a table near the windows where the athletes sit. Another table in the corner, claimed by the students who excel academically, who carry the weight of their parents' expectations in the hunch of their shoulders. There's a table for the artists, the rebels, the ones who have decided that if they cannot be popular, they will at least be interesting. And then there are the individuals who drift, who sit alone or in pairs, who have not yet found their territory or have been exiled from the territories they once claimed. At the center of the cafeteria, at the table that everyone can see but pretends not to watch, sits a girl named Madison. She is 17 years old. She is beautiful in the way that high school values beauty. Symmetrical features, clear skin, the right clothes, the right hair. But her real power does not come from her appearance. It comes from her understanding of the social ecosystem, her ability to read the invisible hierarchies and manipulate them with surgical precision. Madison learned early that attention is currency, and like any currency, it can be given or withheld, used to reward or punish. She learned that the quickest way to elevate yourself is not to climb, but to lower everyone else. And she learned that the most effective way to maintain power is to make others believe that their value depends on your approval. Watch how she operates. A girl named Jenna approaches the table, hopeful, nervous. Jenna is new to the school, still trying to find her place. She has been friendly with Madison in class, and Madison has been friendly back, offering smiles and small compliments that made Jenna feel seen, valued. So Jenna approaches now, believing that perhaps she has found an ally, perhaps even a friend. Madison looks up. For a moment, her face is blank, as if she does not recognize Jenna. Then, slowly, recognition dawns, but it is cold, distant. She does not invite Jenna to sit. She does not smile. Instead, she says, in a voice loud enough for others to hear, that she likes Jenna's shirt, that it is very brave to wear something so bold. The words sound like a compliment, but the tone, the slight emphasis on the word brave, the way Madison's friends exchange glances and suppress smiles, transforms it into something else entirely. Jenna's face flushes. She mumbles a thank you and retreats. And in that moment, the social order has been reinforced. Madison has demonstrated her power. She has shown that she controls access, that she decides who belongs and who does not. And everyone watching has learned the lesson, has been reminded that their position in this ecosystem is fragile, dependent on Madison's continued approval. But here is what is truly tragic. Madison is not happy. She is not fulfilled. She is terrified, because she knows, on some level she refuses to examine, that her power is built on sand. It requires constant maintenance, constant vigilance. She must always be alert for threats, for someone who might challenge her position. She must always be performing, always wearing the mask of confidence and control. And beneath that mask, she is exhausted. She is lonely. She is a prisoner of the game she has mastered. This is the paradox of power. Those who seek it most desperately are often those who are most enslaved by it. They believe they are the players, moving pieces across the board, but they are also pieces themselves, trapped in a game they cannot leave. Let us examine another environment, one that reveals the game in its most intimate form. A bedroom. Late at night, the city outside is quiet, just the distant sound of traffic, the occasional siren. Inside, two people lie in bed, not touching, the space between them feeling vast despite the physical proximity. His name is David. Hers is Claire. They have been married for 9 years. They have 2 children, a mortgage, shared bank accounts, and a history that includes moments of genuine love, genuine connection. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. The partnership became a competition. The intimacy became a negotiation. And now, every interaction is a move in a game neither of them will acknowledge they are playing. Tonight, Claire is angry. David forgot to pick up their son from soccer practice. It is not the first time. It is part of a pattern of small failures, small disappointments that have accumulated over the years like sediment, building layers of resentment that neither of them knows how to address directly. So instead, they play the game. Claire does not yell. She has learned that yelling gives David permission to dismiss her as emotional, irrational. Instead, she becomes cold. She answers his questions with single words. She turns away from him in bed. She creates a climate of discomfort, a psychological winter that makes David feel the weight of her displeasure without her having to name it. David knows what she is doing. He has his own strategies. He becomes overly helpful, exaggeratedly considerate. He does the dishes without being asked, folds the laundry, speaks to her in a tone of careful gentleness. But underneath, there is a message. See how hard I am trying. See how unreasonable you are being. He is not apologizing. He is positioning himself as the victim, the one who is being punished unfairly. Neither of them is communicating. They are maneuvering. They are trying to win a game where winning means the other person breaks first, admits fault, surrenders their position, and in the process, they are destroying the very thing they both claim to want: connection, understanding, love. This is the game board of intimacy, and it is perhaps the most dangerous board of all, because the stakes are not just power or status, but the human need to be known, to be accepted, to be safe with another person. When that space becomes a battlefield, when the person who should be your ally becomes your opponent, something fundamental breaks. And often, by the time people realize what they have lost, it is too late to recover it. But here is the question that haunts this story, the question that should haunt all of us. Are David and Claire villains? Are they bad people? Or are they simply doing what they learned, what they watched their own parents do? What society taught them through 1,000 subtle lessons about how relationships work, about how to protect yourself, about how to avoid being hurt? The truth is that most people are not consciously manipulative. Most people do not wake up and decide to play games with the people they love. Instead, they are responding to fear. Fear of being vulnerable, fear of being rejected, fear of losing control. And in their fear, they reach for the tools they have, the strategies they learned, the masks they know how to wear. They become players on the game board without ever choosing to play. Consider now the workplace, but from a different angle. Not the conference room where Elena demonstrated her mastery, but the break room, the informal spaces where the real power dynamics are often most visible. It is mid-afternoon. 3 employees stand around the coffee machine. They're not friends, not exactly, but they are friendly. They share this space 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, and over time they have developed a rhythm, a way of being together that feels comfortable, easy. One of them is named Tom. He is 46 years old, has worked at the company for 12 years, and has watched younger employees get promoted past him again and again. He tells himself it does not matter, that he values stability over ambition, that he is content with his position. But the truth he hides even from himself, is that he is bitter, and his bitterness has found an outlet. Tom has become the keeper of institutional knowledge. He knows how things work, where the files are kept, which processes are official and which are just tradition. And he uses this knowledge as leverage. When new employees ask for help, he is friendly, helpful, but he never gives them everything they need. He gives them enough to make progress, but not enough to become independent. He creates a dependency, ensures that they will need to come back to him, that he will remain essential. This is not a conscious strategy. If you ask Tom, he would say he is just being helpful, that he enjoys mentoring, that he likes feeling useful. But watch what happens when someone tries to bypass him, when someone figures out a process on their own or asks someone else for help. Tom becomes cold. He makes small comments, subtle criticisms. He finds ways to undermine, to create doubt, because his identity, his sense of value, is tied to being needed. And anyone who threatens that is an enemy, whether they know it or not. Standing next to Tom is a woman named Priya. She is 38 years old, ambitious, strategic. She has been at the company for 5 years and has already been promoted twice. She understands that success in any organization is not just about doing good work, but about being seen doing good work. It is about managing perceptions, building alliances, ensuring that when opportunities arise, your name is the first one that comes to mind. Priya is friendly with everyone. She remembers birthdays, asks about people's families, offers help when colleagues are overwhelmed. But every interaction is calculated. She is building social capital, creating a network of people who feel indebted to her, who will speak well of her when she is not in the room. She is not fake, not exactly. She genuinely likes some of her colleagues. But even her genuine feelings are filtered through a strategic lens. She cannot separate the person from the potential utility. And then there is the third person at the coffee machine, a young man named Alex, 26 years old, new to the corporate world, still idealistic enough to believe that hard work and talent are sufficient. He does not yet understand that he is on a game board. He does not see the invisible moves being made around him. He thinks Tom is helpful. He thinks Priya is kind. He has not yet learned to read the subtext, to see the masks, to understand that every environment is a system of power and everyone in it is playing a role. Alex will learn. Everyone learns eventually. The only question is whether he will learn by being played, by becoming a piece moved by others, or whether he will learn by observation, by studying the game until he understands its rules well enough to play on his own terms. This is the tragedy and the necessity of social awareness. To remain innocent is to remain vulnerable, but to become aware is to lose something precious, a kind of trust, a belief in the fundamental goodness of human interaction. It is to see the theater and never again be able to lose yourself in the performance. Let us return to Elena, the woman we met at the beginning, the one who learned from her mother that every environment is a game board. It is evening now. She is at home, alone in her apartment. The mask she wore all day, the mask of the strategic professional, the master manipulator, has been removed, and what is left is a woman sitting on her couch, a glass of wine in her hand, staring at her phone, scrolling through social media, seeing images of friends at parties, couples on vacation, families gathered together, all of them smiling, all of them seemingly happy. And Elena feels something she would never admit to anyone. She feels lonely. She feels tired. She feels a deep, aching question that she cannot answer. If she is so good at the game, why does winning feel so empty? This is the cost that no one talks about. The cost of seeing the game board, of understanding the moves, of becoming a player. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Every interaction becomes a calculation. Every relationship becomes a strategy. And the spontaneity, the vulnerability, the messy, beautiful chaos of genuine human connection becomes almost impossible to access. Elena thinks about her mother, wonders if she felt this way, wonders if behind the mask of the gentle, supportive wife, there was a woman who longed to be known, truly known, not as a role or a strategy, but as a person. But she never asked, and now her mother is gone, and the question will remain forever unanswered. This is the inheritance we pass down, often without meaning to. The strategies, the masks, the ways of navigating power and protecting ourselves. We teach our children to be safe, to be smart, to be strategic. But in doing so, we sometimes teach them to be alone. Elena sets down her wine glass. She picks up her phone. She scrolls through her contacts, looking for someone to call, someone to talk to. But as she looks at each name, she realizes she does not know who she could be honest with. Every relationship in her life has been built on a version of herself, a performance, a mask. And she does not know if anyone would recognize her without it. She does not know if she would recognize herself. This is the moment of crisis that comes to every player eventually. The moment when you realize that the game you have been winning is not the game you actually want to play. But by then, you are so deep in it, so defined by your strategies and your masks, that you do not know how to stop. You do not know who you would be if you were not playing. Let us examine a different kind of player, one who operates from a different position on the board. His name is Michael. He is 53 years old, a therapist, someone who has spent decades studying human behavior, understanding the patterns, the defenses, the ways people protect themselves from pain. You would think that this knowledge would make him immune to the game, that his professional expertise would translate into personal wisdom. But the opposite is often true. Michael knows too much. He can see the patterns in everyone around him. When his partner speaks, Michael does not just hear the words. He hears the defense mechanisms, the childhood wounds, the unconscious strategies. And this knowledge, which should create compassion, instead creates distance. Because Michael cannot simply be in a relationship. He is always analyzing it, always seeing the game board, always aware of the moves being made. His partner, a man named James, feels this. He feels that he is being studied rather than loved, that every conversation is a therapy session rather than a connection. And so James has begun to withdraw, to protect himself, to play his own game. He has become strategic in his vulnerability, only sharing what he thinks Michael wants to hear, only showing the emotions that seem safe. And Michael sees this too. He sees James withdrawing. He sees the walls being built. And he tries to address it, tries to create space for honesty, for genuine connection. But his attempts are filtered through his professional training. He asks therapeutic questions. He reflects feelings. He creates a safe container. And all of it, despite his good intentions, reinforces the dynamic he is trying to escape. Because James does not want a therapist. James wants a partner. He wants someone who can be messy and uncertain and human. This is the curse of awareness. The more you understand about human behavior, the harder it becomes to simply behave. The more you see the game, the harder it becomes to play authentically. You become trapped in your own knowledge, unable to access the spontaneity and vulnerability that genuine connection requires. Michael lies awake at night, next to James, feeling the distance between them like a physical presence. And he wonders if this is the inevitable cost of his profession, of his knowledge. He wonders if it is possible to see the masks and still be able to remove your own. He wonders if awareness and intimacy can coexist, or if they are fundamentally incompatible. These are not easy questions, and they do not have easy answers. Because the truth is that once you see the game board, once you understand the invisible dynamics of power and manipulation that govern human interaction, you cannot simply choose to forget. You cannot return to innocence. You can only move forward, trying to find a way to be both aware and authentic, both strategic and genuine. Now consider a different environment entirely. A church. Sunday morning. Sunlight streams through stained glass windows, casting colored patterns on the wooden pews. The organ plays. Voices rise in hymns. People bow their heads in prayer. From the outside, it looks like a sanctuary, a place removed from the games and strategies of the secular world. But look closer. Look at the dynamics, the hierarchies, the invisible power structures. Because the game board exists here too, perhaps in its most insidious form, because it is hidden beneath the language of faith and community and love. At the front of the church stands Pastor William. He is 62 years old, has led this congregation for 23 years. He is beloved, respected, seen as a moral authority, a spiritual guide, and he is all of those things. But he is also a man who understands power, who knows how to wield it, who has built his position through a careful combination of genuine faith and strategic manipulation. Pastor William knows that the most effective way to control a community is not through force, but through the control of narrative. He decides what is discussed from the pulpit, what issues are important, what interpretations of Scripture are correct. And he does this not through argument or debate, but through the weight of his authority, the assumption that his position gives him special access to truth. When members of the congregation disagree with him, when they raise questions or concerns, Pastor William does not engage with the substance of their arguments. Instead, he questions their faith, their commitment, their spiritual maturity. He frames disagreement as a moral failing, a lack of trust in God's plan. And in doing so, he makes it almost impossible to challenge him without challenging the entire framework of belief that holds the community together. There is a woman in the congregation named Ruth. She is 70 years old, has attended this church her entire life. She has watched Pastor William rise to power, has seen the way he operates, and she has questions, doubts about some of his teachings, concerns about the way he handles money, the way he treats those who disagree with him. But she does not speak, because to speak would be to risk everything. Her community, her identity, her sense of belonging. All of it is tied to this place, to these people. And Pastor William has made it clear, through 1,000 subtle messages, that loyalty is the highest virtue, that questioning is a form of betrayal. So Ruth sits in her pew, sings the hymns, bows her head in prayer, and she carries her doubts in silence, a weight that grows heavier with each passing year. She is not alone. There are others like her, scattered throughout the congregation. People who see the game but feel powerless to challenge it. They are trapped not by force, but by their own need for belonging, their own fear of exile. This is perhaps the most powerful form of control. Not the control that comes from violence or coercion, but the control that comes from making people complicit in their own oppression, by tying their identity to the system, by making them dependent on it for their sense of meaning and community. You ensure that they will police themselves, that they will silence their own doubts, that they will defend the very structure that limits them. Pastor William is not a villain. He believes in his mission. He believes he is serving God, serving his congregation. But his belief does not change the reality of what he has created. A system where power is concentrated, where dissent is punished, where the game board is hidden beneath the language of love and faith. Let us shift now to an environment that reveals the game in its most primal form. A prison. Not a literal prison with bars and guards, but a psychological one. A relationship where one person has learned to control another so completely that the victim no longer recognizes they are being controlled. Her name is Sophie. She is 29 years old. She has been in a relationship with a man named Derek for 4 years. From the outside, they look like any other couple. They live together, share meals, make plans for the future. But inside the relationship, Sophie has become a ghost of herself. She has learned to monitor her own thoughts, to censor her own feelings, to constantly adjust her behavior, to avoid triggering Derek's anger. Derek is not physically violent. He does not hit her. He does not threaten her. But he has mastered a different kind of violence, a psychological violence that is harder to name, harder to escape. He controls through mood, through the threat of his displeasure. When Sophie does something he does not like, he does not yell. He becomes cold. He withdraws. He creates an atmosphere of tension that fills their apartment like smoke, making it hard to breathe, hard to think. And Sophie, desperate to restore peace, desperate to make things okay, learns to apologize, even when she does not know what she is apologizing for, even when she has done nothing wrong. She learns that her job is to manage Derek's emotions, to keep him happy, to avoid the coldness that feels like death. Over time, Sophie has lost track of her own preferences, her own desires. She does not know what she wants to eat for dinner because she has spent so long trying to guess what Derek wants. She does not know what she thinks about politics or religion or art because she has spent so long echoing Derek's opinions. She has become a mirror, reflecting back what he needs to see. And in the process, she has disappeared. This is the most complete form of control. Not the control that comes from force, but the control that comes from making someone complicit in their own erasure. Derek has not imprisoned Sophie. Sophie has imprisoned herself, believing that this is what love requires, that this is what relationships are supposed to be. And Derek, for his part, does not see himself as controlling. He sees himself as having standards, as knowing what he wants, as being in a relationship with someone who understands him. He does not recognize the power he wields because he has never had to examine it. The game board is invisible to him because he is always winning. But here's what makes this story both tragic and hopeful. Sophie is beginning to wake up. It started small. A friend made a comment, a casual observation about how Sophie always defers to Derek, how she never seems to have her own opinion. And the comment lodged itself in Sophie's mind like a splinter. She could not stop thinking about it. She began to notice patterns she had been blind to. She began to feel the weight of the prison she had built around herself. Waking up is painful. It means confronting the years she has lost, the person she has become. It means acknowledging that the relationship she thought was love is actually a form of control. And it means facing the terrifying question of what comes next. Because leaving is not simple. It is not just a matter of walking out the door. It is a matter of rebuilding an entire sense of self, of learning who you are when you are not performing for someone else's approval. Sophie is not there yet. She is still in the relationship, still playing the game. But something has shifted. She is beginning to see the board. And once you see it, once you understand the moves being made, it becomes harder to keep playing. The mask begins to crack. And beneath it, slowly, painfully, a real person begins to emerge. Let us return now to the question that underlies all of these stories. Why do we play these games? Why do we wear these masks? Why do we turn every environment into a game board, every relationship into a strategy? The answer is both simple and complex. We play because we are afraid. Afraid of being hurt, afraid of being rejected, afraid of being powerless. And so we reach for control. We learn to manipulate, to strategize, to protect ourselves. We learn to read the room, to understand the dynamics, to position ourselves advantageously. And in doing so, we create the very thing we fear. We create distance. We create isolation. We create a world where genuine connection becomes almost impossible. But here is the deeper truth. The game is not just something we play. It is something we are born into. From the moment we enter the world, we are navigating power dynamics. The infant who learns that crying brings attention. The toddler who learns that tantrums can get results. The child who learns that good behavior earns praise and bad behavior earns punishment. We are learning the game before we have language to name it. And as we grow, the game becomes more complex. We learn about social hierarchies, about popularity and status. We learn about gender roles, about race and class. We learn about the invisible rules that govern every environment, the unspoken expectations that determine who belongs and who does not. And we learn to play, not because we are bad people, but because playing is how we survive. This is the tragedy of the human condition. We are social creatures. We need connection, belonging, love. But we are also vulnerable creatures. We can be hurt, rejected, abandoned. And so we develop defenses. We learn to protect ourselves. And those defenses, necessary as they are, become the very thing that prevents us from getting what we need. The mask that protects us also isolates us. The strategy that keeps us safe also keeps us alone. And we find ourselves trapped in a paradox, desperately wanting connection, while simultaneously doing everything we can to avoid the vulnerability that connection requires. Consider now what it means to be aware of the game, to see the board, to understand the moves, to recognize the masks. Is this awareness a gift or a curse? Does it liberate us or imprison us? The answer depends on what we do with the awareness. If we use it to become better players, to manipulate more effectively, to win more consistently, then it is a curse, because we will find ourselves like Elena, sitting alone in our apartments, surrounded by victories that feel empty, relationships that feel hollow, a life that looks successful from the outside but feels meaningless from the inside. But if we use the awareness differently, if we use it to understand ourselves and others with compassion, if we use it to recognize the fear that drives the game and to choose vulnerability instead of strategy, then it can be a gift. It can be the beginning of something different, not a life without games, because the games are inevitable, woven into the fabric of human society, but a life where we are conscious players, where we choose our moves deliberately, where we can take off the mask when it is safe to do so. This is the path that Michael, the therapist, is trying to find. The path that Sophie is beginning to discover. The path that even Elena, in her loneliest moments, yearns for. It is the path of conscious authenticity, of being strategic when strategy is necessary, but vulnerable when vulnerability is possible, of wearing the mask when the environment demands it, but knowing that the mask is not who you are. This path is not easy. It requires constant discernment, constant choice. It requires the ability to read the environment, to assess the safety, to determine when it is wise to protect yourself and when it is worth the risk to be real. It requires the courage to be hurt, the wisdom to know that not every environment is safe, and the faith that somewhere, with someone, genuine connection is possible. Let us examine one more environment, one that brings together many of the themes we have explored. A support group. 12 people sitting in a circle in a community center basement. The chairs are uncomfortable. The fluorescent lights are too bright. There is a table in the corner with coffee that tastes like cardboard and cookies that no one eats. These people have come together because they share something, a common struggle, a common pain. And in theory, this should be a safe space, a place where masks can be removed, where the game can be set aside. But watch what happens. Even here, even in a space explicitly designed for vulnerability, the game board emerges. There's a hierarchy, unspoken but understood. There are people who have been coming for years, who know the language, who understand the norms. And there are newcomers, uncertain, afraid, trying to figure out how to belong. There is a man named Paul who has been attending for 3 years. He has become, in some ways, the unofficial leader of the group. He is the one who welcomes newcomers, who shares first, who sets the tone. And he does this with genuine compassion, genuine desire to help. But there is also something else. There is a need to be needed, a need to be the one who has figured it out, who can guide others. And this need, subtle as it is, creates a dynamic. It positions Paul as the expert, the healed one, and everyone else as the broken ones who need his wisdom. A woman named Lisa has been coming for 6 months. She is struggling, deeply struggling, with depression and anxiety that sometimes makes it hard to get out of bed. She comes to the group hoping for connection, for understanding, but she has begun to notice something. When she shares her struggles, when she is honest about how bad things are, the group becomes uncomfortable. They offer advice, platitudes, suggestions for things she should try. They cannot simply sit with her pain. They need to fix it, to make it better, to restore the narrative that healing is possible, that things get better. And so Lisa has learned to edit herself. She shares the struggles that are manageable, the ones that have solutions. She hides the depths of her despair, the moments when she is not sure she wants to keep living, because she has learned that the group can only handle so much truth, that there is a limit to the vulnerability that is acceptable. This is the game board of even the most well-intentioned spaces, because we are human, and humans are uncomfortable with pain, with uncertainty, with the messiness of real struggle. We want narratives of healing, of progress, of hope. And when someone's reality does not fit that narrative, we try to reshape it, to make it fit, to restore our own sense of safety and control. The facilitator of the group, a therapist named Dr. Chun, sees this dynamic. She sees the way Paul has positioned himself, the way Lisa is hiding, and she tries to address it gently, carefully. She reminds the group that their job is not to fix each other, but to witness each other. She creates space for the difficult emotions, the ones that do not have easy solutions. She models the kind of presence that allows for genuine vulnerability. But even Dr. Chun is playing a role. She is the facilitator, the professional, the one who maintains the boundaries and ensures the safety of the space. And this role, necessary as it is, creates distance. She cannot be a full participant. She cannot share her own struggles in the same way. She must remain, to some degree, outside the circle, managing the dynamics, reading the room, making strategic interventions. This is the inescapable reality. Even in spaces designed for authenticity, the game persists. Because the game is not just about manipulation or control. It is about the fundamental human need for structure, for roles, for ways of organizing our interactions that make them manageable, predictable, safe. So what do we do with this knowledge? How do we live in a world where every environment is a game board, where everyone is wearing masks, where power and manipulation are woven into the fabric of human interaction? The first step is acceptance. Not resignation, but acceptance. Accepting that the game exists, that it is not going away, that it is part of the human condition. Fighting against this reality, pretending that it does not exist, only makes us more vulnerable. Because if we do not see the game, we will be played by it. The second step is discernment. Learning to read the environment, to understand the dynamics, to recognize when we are safe and when we are not. This is not about becoming paranoid or cynical. It is about becoming wise. It is about developing the ability to assess situations accurately, to see the masks others are wearing, to understand the moves being made. The third step is choice. Once we see the game, once we understand the dynamics, we have a choice about how to engage. We can choose to play strategically when strategy is necessary. We can choose to protect ourselves when protection is needed. But we can also choose, in moments and with people where it is safe, to set down the strategy, to remove the mask, to risk vulnerability. This is the art of conscious living, not a life without games, but a life where we are aware of the games we are playing, where we choose our moves deliberately, where we know the difference between the mask and the face beneath it. Elena is learning this. Slowly, painfully. She is learning that winning the game is not the same as living a meaningful life. She is beginning to experiment with vulnerability, with letting people see her without the mask. It is terrifying. It feels like standing naked in a crowded room. But it is also, in moments, exhilarating. Because for the first time in years, she feels real. Sophie is learning this too. She has left Derek. It was the hardest thing she has ever done. She is living alone now, in a small apartment, rebuilding her sense of self. She is learning to recognize her own thoughts, her own feelings, her own desires. She is learning that she does not have to manage anyone else's emotions, that she is allowed to take up space, to have needs, to say no. The game board of her relationship with Derek is gone, and in its absence, she is discovering who she is. Michael is still struggling. He still sees the patterns, still analyzes the dynamics, but he is trying to find moments where he can set aside the analysis, where he can simply be with James without the filter of his professional knowledge. It is hard. His mind wants to understand, to categorize, to make sense, but he is learning that sometimes understanding is the enemy of connection, that sometimes you have to choose between being right and being close. And Madison, the high school queen, is beginning to feel the cracks in her armor. She is starting to wonder what it would be like to have a friend who knows her, really knows her, not the performance she puts on, but the scared, uncertain girl beneath. She does not know how to get there. She does not know if it is even possible. But the question has been planted, and questions, once planted, have a way of growing. There is a concept in psychology called the shadow. It is the part of ourselves that we hide, the aspects of our personality that we deem unacceptable, that we push down into the unconscious. The shadow contains our rage, our selfishness, our capacity for cruelty. But it also contains our power, our authenticity, our deepest truths. The masks we wear are, in many ways, defenses against the shadow. We create a persona, a socially acceptable version of ourselves, and we present that to the world. And in doing so, we exile the parts of ourselves that do not fit, that are too messy, too complicated, too real. But the shadow does not disappear. It operates beneath the surface, influencing our behavior in ways we do not recognize. It emerges in our unconscious manipulations, our passive aggression, our inexplicable reactions. It is the part of us that plays the game without admitting we are playing. The path to conscious authenticity requires integrating the shadow. It requires acknowledging the parts of ourselves that we have hidden, the capacity for manipulation and control that exists in all of us. Not to indulge it, but to understand it. To recognize that we all have the potential to be players on the game board, that we all wear masks, that we all engage in strategies of power and protection. This acknowledgement is not comfortable. It means confronting the ways we have hurt others, the ways we have been complicit in systems of control, the ways we have chosen safety over authenticity. It means recognizing that we are not just victims of the game, but also players. And that recognition carries responsibility, but it also carries freedom. Because once we acknowledge our shadow, once we integrate the parts of ourselves we have been hiding, we no longer have to be controlled by them. We can choose. We can decide when to use our strategic abilities and when to set them aside. We can wear the mask consciously, knowing that it is a tool, not an identity. This is the wisdom that Robert, the patriarch, never achieved. He played the game his entire life without ever acknowledging that he was playing. He manipulated his family while believing he was helping them. He created conflict while believing he was creating connection. And in the end, he died alone, surrounded by people who performed love, but did not feel it, who played their roles, but did not know him. This is the wisdom that Pastor William is in danger of losing. He has become so identified with his role, so invested in his position, that he can no longer distinguish between his genuine faith and his need for power. The mask has become the face, and beneath it, the real person has disappeared. But it is also the wisdom that is available to all of us, if we are willing to do the work of seeing the game, the work of understanding our own participation in it, the work of choosing, moment by moment, how we want to engage. Let us consider one final environment, one that brings us full circle. A mirror. You, standing alone, looking at your own reflection. What do you see? Do you see the mask, the persona you present to the world? Or do you see the person beneath, the one with fears and desires and contradictions? This is the most important game board of all, the one inside your own mind. Because before you can navigate the external games, before you can choose how to engage with the power dynamics and manipulations of the world, you must first understand your own internal dynamics. You must see your own masks, recognize your own strategies, acknowledge your own shadow. This requires brutal honesty. It requires looking at the ways you manipulate, the ways you control, the ways you protect yourself at the expense of connection. It requires acknowledging the times you have been like Elena, strategic and successful but lonely. The times you have been like Robert, creating problems to maintain your importance. The times you have been like Madison, wielding power to hide your insecurity. The times you have been like Derek, controlling others to manage your own fear. We have all been these people. We have all played these roles. Because the game is not something that happens to us. It is something we participate in, consciously or unconsciously, every day of our lives. But we have also been Sophie, trapped in a prison of our own making. We have been Lisa, hiding our deepest pain because we fear it is too much. We have been Alex, naive and vulnerable, not yet aware of the games being played around us. We have been Ruth, carrying our doubts in silence, afraid to speak our truth. The question is not whether we play the game. The question is how we play it. Do we play unconsciously, driven by fear and habit, repeating patterns we learned in childhood without ever examining them? Or do we play consciously, with awareness and choice, using strategy when necessary but always remembering the person beneath the mask? This is the invitation, not to stop playing, because that is impossible, but to play differently, to play with awareness, to play with compassion, for ourselves and for others, to recognize that everyone is on the game board, everyone is wearing masks, everyone is trying to navigate the impossible task of being human in a world that demands both connection and protection. There is a moment that comes, if we are lucky, if we are brave, when the mask cracks, when the strategy fails, when the game we have been playing so carefully falls apart. And in that moment we have a choice. We can scramble to rebuild the mask, to restore the game, to return to the safety of our strategies. Or we can let it break. We can stand in the wreckage and see what remains. Elena had this moment. It came on an ordinary Tuesday evening. She was at a work event, networking, playing the game she had mastered. She was charming, strategic, saying all the right things. And then someone, a colleague she barely knew, asked her a simple question. They asked if she was happy. And the question, so simple, so direct, pierced through all her defenses. She opened her mouth to give the expected answer, the performance of happiness, but nothing came out. She stood there, silent, feeling the mask crack, feeling something real trying to emerge. And in that moment, she made a choice. She told the truth. She said she did not know. She said she was successful but lonely. She said she was good at the game but tired of playing. The colleague did not know what to say. The moment was awkward, uncomfortable. Elena had broken the rules, had been vulnerable in a space that demanded performance. But something shifted. The colleague, after a moment, shared their own truth. They said they felt the same way. And suddenly, in the middle of a networking event, surrounded by people playing their roles, two real people found each other. This is what is possible when we let the mask crack. Not comfort, not safety, but connection. Real, messy, imperfect connection. The kind that cannot be strategized or controlled. The kind that requires risk. Sophie had this moment too. It came when she finally told Derek she was leaving. She had rehearsed what she would say, had prepared for his reactions, had tried to strategize the conversation. But when the moment came, all her preparation fell away. She simply said she could not do it anymore. She could not keep disappearing. She could not keep managing his emotions. She needed to find herself again. And Derek, for the first time in their relationship, had no response. His strategies did not work. His coldness did not work. Because Sophie was no longer playing. She had stepped off the game board. Michael had this moment with James. It came during an argument. They were fighting about something trivial. Something that was really about all the deeper issues they had been avoiding. And Michael, as always, was trying to be therapeutic, trying to create space, trying to manage the conflict. And James, frustrated, said he did not want a therapist. He wanted a partner. He wanted Michael to just be angry, to just be messy, to just be human. And Michael, in that moment, let go. He stopped analyzing. He stopped managing. He just felt. He was angry. He was hurt. He was scared. And he said so, without the therapeutic language, without the professional distance. Just raw, unfiltered emotion. And it was terrifying, but it was also real. And in that reality, Something between them began to heal. Madison has not had her moment yet, but it is coming. She can feel it. The mask is getting heavier. The game is getting exhausting. And there's a part of her, a part she has been ignoring for years, that is desperate to be seen. Not the performance, not the queen, but the scared, uncertain girl who just wants to be loved for who she is, not for the role she plays. Here is the final truth, the one that underlies everything we have explored. The game board exists. The masks are real. The manipulation and power dynamics are woven into every environment we enter. But beneath all of it, beneath the strategies and the performances and the roles, there are real people. People who are scared. People who are lonely. People who are desperate for connection, but terrified of vulnerability. We play the game because we do not know how else to survive. We wear the masks because we do not believe we will be accepted without them. We manipulate and strategize because we are afraid that if we are simply ourselves, we will be rejected, abandoned, hurt. And the tragedy is that in protecting ourselves, we create the very isolation we fear. We build walls to keep pain out, but we also keep connection out. We wear masks to be accepted, but the acceptance we receive is for the mask, not for us. We win the game, but we lose ourselves. The path forward is not to stop playing. It is to play consciously, to recognize the game, to understand the dynamics, to develop the skills to navigate power and manipulation, but also to know when to set the game aside, to recognize the moments and the people where it is safe to be vulnerable, to have the courage to let the mask crack, to risk being seen, to choose connection over control. This is not easy. It requires discernment, wisdom, courage. It requires the ability to read environments accurately, to assess safety, to know when strategy is necessary and when it is a barrier. It requires the willingness to be hurt, because vulnerability always carries that risk. But it also offers the possibility of something real, something that all the strategy and manipulation in the world cannot provide. Genuine human connection, the experience of being known, truly known, and accepted anyway. Elena is building a different kind of life now. She still goes to work. She still navigates the office politics. She still reads the room and understands the dynamics. But she has also started to build relationships outside of strategy. She has joined a book club where she does not have to perform. She has reconnected with an old friend who knew her before she became so strategic. She is learning slowly to distinguish between the environments where she needs to wear the mask and the environments where she can take it off. Sophie is discovering who she is. It is a slow process, sometimes painful. There are days when she misses the certainty of her relationship with Derek, even though it was a prison. There are days when she doubts herself, wonders if she made the right choice. But there are also days when she feels something she had forgotten was possible. She feels free. She makes decisions based on what she wants, not on what will keep someone else happy. She says no without guilt. She takes up space without apologizing. She is becoming real. Michael and James are learning to be messy together. They still have conflicts. They still struggle. But they are struggling together now, as partners, not as therapist and client. Michael is learning that he does not have to have all the answers, that sometimes the most loving thing he can do is simply be present, be uncertain, be human. And James is learning that vulnerability is not weakness, that asking for what he needs is not selfish, that he deserves to be seen and loved for who he is. Madison is still in high school. She is still navigating the brutal social hierarchies, still wearing the mask of the queen. But she has started to notice things. She has started to see the cost of her power, the loneliness that comes with always being in control. And she has started to wonder what would happen if she let someone in. Not everyone, not in every environment, but maybe one person. Maybe one friend who could see beneath the mask. These are not stories of transformation. They are stories of integration, of learning to live with the paradox of being human, of being both strategic and authentic, of wearing masks when necessary, but knowing they are masks, of playing the game consciously, with awareness and choice. There is a concept in theater called breaking the fourth wall. It is when an actor steps out of character and addresses the audience directly, acknowledging that they are in a play, that the reality on stage is constructed. It breaks the illusion, but it also creates a different kind of connection. A connection based not on the story being told, but on the shared understanding that we are all participating in something together. This is what we're doing now. We are breaking the fourth wall of human interaction. We are acknowledging that the social world is a stage, that we are all playing roles, that the game board exists. And in acknowledging it, we are creating the possibility of something different. Not a world without games, but a world where we are conscious players, where we can wink at each other across the board, acknowledging the absurdity of it all, while still playing when we need to. This is the wisdom of the trickster, the archetype that appears in every culture. The trickster understands the rules, but is not bound by them. The trickster plays the game, but also mocks it. The trickster wears masks, but never forgets they are masks. The trickster lives in the space between order and chaos, between strategy and spontaneity, between the role and the real. We can all be tricksters. We can all learn to navigate the game board with both skill and humor. We can develop the ability to read the room, to understand the dynamics, to play strategically when necessary. But we can also maintain a part of ourselves that stands outside the game, that observes with compassion and amusement, that remembers that beneath all the masks and strategies, we are all just humans trying to survive, trying to connect, trying to matter. This perspective does not make the game less real. The power dynamics still exist. The manipulation still happens. The masks are still necessary in many environments, but it gives us a choice about how we relate to it all. We can be trapped by the game, or we can play it consciously. We can be defined by our masks, or we can wear them lightly, knowing they are tools, not identities. Let us return one final time to the question of awareness. Is it better to see the game board or to remain innocent? Is knowledge power or burden? The answer is that it is both. Awareness is power because it gives us choice. When we see the dynamics, when we understand the moves being made, we are no longer helpless. We can protect ourselves. We can navigate strategically. We can avoid being manipulated by those who are playing consciously while we are playing blind. But awareness is also a burden, because once we see the game, we cannot unsee it. Every interaction becomes more complex. Every relationship requires more discernment. The spontaneity and innocence of unconscious connection is lost. We are always, to some degree, aware of the performance, the strategy, the mask. This is the price of consciousness, and it is a price worth paying, because the alternative is not innocence. The alternative is unconscious participation in systems of manipulation and control. The alternative is being played without knowing it. The alternative is wearing masks without realizing they are masks, becoming so identified with our roles that we forget who we are beneath them. Awareness gives us the possibility of choice. And choice, even difficult choice, is the foundation of freedom. We may not be able to escape the game board. We may not be able to live without masks, but we can choose how we play. We can choose when to wear the mask and when to take it off. We can choose which games are worth playing and which are not. This is the path of conscious living, and it is available to all of us if we are willing to see, if we are willing to acknowledge the game board, to recognize our own participation in it, to integrate our shadow, to risk vulnerability when it is safe, and to play strategically when it is necessary. The world will not change. The game boards will still exist. The power dynamics will still operate. The manipulation will still happen. But we can change. We can become conscious players. We can learn to navigate the game with both skill and integrity. We can wear our masks lightly, knowing they are tools, not prisons. And in doing so, we can create small spaces of authenticity, moments of real connection, relationships where we are known and accepted, environments where the game can be set aside, at least temporarily, and we can simply be human together. This is not a grand solution. It is not a revolution. It is simply a way of being, a way of moving through the world with eyes open, with awareness and compassion, with the ability to play the game when necessary, but also the courage to step off the board when it is safe to do so. There's a final scene to consider. A coffee shop. Two people sitting across from each other. They are friends, or perhaps they are becoming friends. They are talking, sharing stories, laughing. From the outside, it looks ordinary. But if you could see beneath the surface, if you could see the invisible dynamics, you would see something remarkable. Both of these people are aware of the game board. Both of them understand power dynamics, manipulation, the masks people wear. They have both been players. They have both been played. They have both experienced the loneliness that comes from winning games that do not matter. And now, in this coffee shop, they are making a different choice. They are choosing to be vulnerable with each other, not recklessly, not without discernment. They have assessed the situation, read each other, determined that this is a safe space. And having determined that, they are taking off their masks. They are sharing their real thoughts, their real fears, their real desires. They are admitting their uncertainties, their failures, their contradictions. They are not performing. They are not strategizing. They are simply being. And it is awkward sometimes. The conversation does not flow smoothly. There are pauses, moments of discomfort. They are out of practice at being real. But there is also something else. There is a sense of relief, a sense of being seen, a sense of connection that all the strategy and performance in the world cannot create. This is what is possible. Not in every environment, not with every person, but in some moments, with some people, when we are brave enough to risk it. This is the reward for all the work of awareness, all the difficulty of seeing the game board, the ability to recognize when we can step off it, the ability to find each other in the midst of all the performance and strategy, the ability to be real. Elena has found this with her old friend. Sophie is finding it with herself, and slowly, carefully, with new people she is meeting. Michael and James are creating it together. And Madison, when she is ready, will find it too. Because the need for real connection is universal. It is what we are all searching for, beneath all the games and masks and strategies. The game board exists, but so does the possibility of stepping off it. The masks are real, but so is the face beneath. The manipulation and power dynamics are woven into human interaction, but so is the capacity for genuine connection, for vulnerability, for love. This is the final truth. We are all players on the game board. But we are also more than players. We are human beings with the capacity for awareness, for choice, for authenticity. And that capacity, however difficult it is to access, however much courage it requires, is what makes us more than pieces being moved. It is what makes us real. And so, the curtain falls on this act. But the show continues inside each of us, in the silence of our thoughts. The mask we've analyzed today, you may know it well. You may wear it, or perhaps you see it in someone you love. The comment section below is not a place for judgment. It's our stage for confessions, a safe space for observers. Use that space to share your story. What mask did you have to wear to survive? We want to hear from you. And if you felt understood here, subscribe. Because here, you are not alone. Together, we'll keep unraveling human theater, one mask at a time. The next act is about to begin.